Center field. Bateman setting up. And the runner at first thought there were 2 outs. Throw the ball to first. This is going to be a double play.
Yeah, so again, if you played baseball or softball or kickball or wiffle ball or any sort of game that involves a ball and a bat, yeah, football players, you guys don't know how to hit. I'm just telling y'all. But you probably know the rule about tagging up. Well, apparently you don't really need to do that anymore according to that game. Anyways, though, yeah, my Red Sox, four-game bender right now. Oof. And they forgot how to hit. So, I mean, they scored a run in that game. That's good. They didn't get shut out, but, like, not looking too hot right now. Anyways, this team isn't hot either. That's the Browns. They haven't played a game yet. They very soon they will. Again, actual preseason's like literally tomorrow. So get ready for that. But, yeah, Browns roster today, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur. We'll talk about him too. But, yeah, let's get into this Browns roster. It's definitely an exciting group. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope y'all are ready for this Cleveland Browns roster. Again, we are very, very close to finish. I think we have like two or three teams, maybe 4 teams left to go here in the series. You guys can go check their list to be sure. Epstein's the what? Anyways, he's not on it. But Deshaun Watson, he probably's been there too. Again, for this Browns team, it's obviously a very peculiar roster. If you watched the AI video on them yesterday, you would have seen some things that have happened with them for a while. Again, they're the most miserable franchise in NFL history. I don't think there's really anything debating that. This is a team the past years that has combined for, 8 wins? Pretty bad. Again, it's Kevin Stefanski. He was their most successful coach in a pretty damn long time if you really think about it here. But hey, new leaf turned over. Not really. Deshaun Watson's still here, but Todd Monken is the new head coach. Definitely a peculiar head coaching hire, but we'll get into that. Again, we get to the identity towards the end of this, but we still have a lot of guys to talk about. They obviously made some massive moves this offseason, overhauling this roster, or just, like I said, turning over at least most of the leaves they've had from the past couple years. But we'll get into this group, and also I want to put this out there. Shout out to the Browns front office. They have done a fantastic job. They have had the best drafts the past 2 years. I think they will reap some of the benefits of that as we go along. But when you really suck, you got to hit your draft picks, and that's, I think, so far that is what they've done really well. And they have 2 first-round picks next year, and this strategy I really think is going to work out for them. So for a team that's won 8 games past 2 years, we'll talk about the Titans soon, they are going in the right direction, at least in terms of the future, which is something that I think a lot of NFL teams, when they suck, can definitely take a note of from this Browns team, despite obviously them not really having much success at all so far. All right, we'll talk about Deshaun and Shedeur last. I mean, again, if you've heard anything about me in the media about them, it's been like they've talked too much about these two. I have my opinions on both of them, on and off the field. But Taylor Green's in this quarterback room. I'd really hope they keep him on the roster in some capacity, because this is a dude that's just an absolute athletic freak. He still can't throw the ball accurately to save his life. I'm not saying he's AR or Big Tony, but he basically is. Really strong arm, though, which I like a lot. He does have good anticipation, which I think is something that kind of gets lost in his play. Obviously, at Arkansas, he wasn't a very competitive quarterback. That's a team last year that was just completely awful. 2024, he was much more explosive down the field. I think I got to really preface that. Last year, though, much, much better in terms of the anticipation over the middle field, which is huge. Also, he had a lot more awareness in the pocket. Also, 777 yards. He was a baller. Biggest thing for Taylor Green coming in the NFL, can he develop any sort of timing and kind of internal clock? If those 2 things can at least start to develop, there's definitely something there, maybe to be a backup in the future. Dylan Gabriel's the 3rd quarterback on this roster. Again, the Browns were kind of on the similar situation last year with how many quarterbacks they have. I think the problem with what people with Dylan Gabriel last year is that he just really wasn't that effective. I don't think he was particularly awful for them, because he was better than Shedeur, at least in terms of like an overall efficiency wise. Is he a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders? No, I didn't think that coming into the NFL. It's kind of weird that he won the spot over him. He definitely is a more developed processor, especially with running an offense. But you guys saw there's definitely a limit with what he can do. He got sacked 6 times. Like, this Steelers game, this is where I'm like, yeah, it's not really going to work out for him. Again, 52 pass attempts is also pretty ridiculous. But again, you look at him in this offense. The Jets game was the last one. I guess the Ravens one was the last one he technically started. Biggest problem with him last year is he wasn't really threatening the ball down the field, and a lot of his decisions were definitely more on the conservative side. And for a guy that isn't exactly the most he's definitely limited in a lot of ways. That's not really going to be a good way to kind of make up for it, because there's certain quarterbacks that definitely don't have. Again, look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who might not be the most aggressive quarterback at times, because he is so talented. It doesn't really matter. For Dylan Gabriel, he's got to be more aggressive, and I think that's the biggest reason that he wasn't quite really successful at all in terms of efficiency numbers. But still, 2 picks. He ran this offense pretty well. For me, though, Dylan Gabriel, again, he's going to be a backup in the NFL. Again, I liked him a lot coming to college. He was my dude. But again, we know what he can do, at least to some capacity so far. So who knows? Maybe he'll start this year. But again, last year it wasn't great. I'll say that. All right, now we get to the top two dudes. Shedeur, I'm not going to lie, guys. I really don't think Shedeur is a very good quarterback. Last year, he wasn't good. I'll say that. But at the same time, there were definitely some games where you definitely saw some high-level instinctiveness from him. I think that's the best way to put it. Because, again, really looking at Titans games, there were times in that game where he didn't have anything and he made stuff happen, which is, again, a shout out to him. But again, that's a Titans team that was 1-11 at the time. Just keep that in mind. But still, for Shedeur, he's a guy that does have those instinctive abilities. He's an accurate passer overall, but some of the decisions he makes just aren't really there. He is way less athletic than I think people are going to really try to give him credit for. Because you look at, again, a guy like Dylan Gabriel, yes, does he have a better arm for sure? Does he have much more velocity on the ball in terms of pace? Not really. And there's times just the overall touch on his passes just really aren't there. And there's also some games where he kind of threw them out of it. The game against the Ravens, he was flat out terrible. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He couldn't hit the broad side of the barn. Raiders game, cool. He was okay. I'm not going to go every single week here, but obviously, again, if we look at some of these games, I'm going to say the one game I think that a lot of people didn't like from him was the Bears game. That wasn't really his fault. Again, he made a lot of good throws in that game, and they just, again, weren't caught or good play by the defender. Then again, the last 3 weeks, I didn't love from him, but again, he at least was playing at least some winning football. So, Shedeur last year wasn't great. I honestly think he sucks in a lot of ways because that's just really the way he is. But again, he's still a guy that's going to get chances just because of who he is and who his dad is, in some capacity. But still, it's the NFL. We know what's up here. But yeah, Shedeur, very convoluted last season. Then we have Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played a snap since Week 7 of 2024. Deshaun Watson is by far the most talented quarterback in this offense. I don't even think it's really that close. I like the idea of him running the ball more. Obviously, despite the injury concerns, because this offense, let's be honest, doesn't really have much of a dynamic threat. Like it just doesn't. It's not an offense that scares literally anybody. So if you can at least get something at Deshaun Watson that's kind of an odd variable that's gonna make it hard for defense to at least take note of, it's gonna put them in a much better situation than they have been in the past. I will say Deshaun Watson has not even been an even average passer down the field or really at all since his time in Houston. Again, he legitimately hasn't played on a consistent basis since that 2020 season. But last time we saw him, he was pretty awful. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. On the other 216 attempts, I only saw probably 10 throws where yeah, that's old Deshaun Watson. I would really like to see him get back to that because he's had a lot of time. It's not like the rust factor at this point. It's like, Deshaun, go out there, prove who you are, prove that you're that guy from 2020. If he can be that guy, I mean, go ahead and do it. But again, people don't understand. Deshaun Watson was literally a top 5, one of the most talented quarterbacks in football. A couple years back in 2020. Again, it's just the truth there. And while he's 30 now, he still has that athleticism at least to some capacity. And yeah, while his passing overall has deteriorated at least to a certain extent, I still think there's a guy in there that can go out there and win this team football games. It'll be interesting to see. I really hope Deshaun Watson plays well. Again, obviously it's not someone you want to root for as a person, but I am a guy that watched him growing up, and I'm like, this is a dude that I like. He's just a fun player to watch. And again, it would be cool for the Browns as a franchise, not him as a person. Again, for him to play good football. For me, though, I'm still giving them a D+ at quarterback. It's not a very good situation. I still don't think because Deshaun is that talented, and Shedeur, I don't know. We'll see what happens. They only can go up from here. I'm gonna say it's a D+ here. You could argue it's a D. You could argue it's C-. Either way, I think there's a lot of proving that needs to happen. All right, now we're moving to this Browns skill position group, and I'm not going to lie, it is by far the youngest group in the league. Other than Jerry Jeudy, there legitimately isn't one unk on this receiving corps. Even then, is Jerry Jeudy even an unk? He still acts like he's 6. This is a very young group. I got to put it out there, but there's some extremely talented players here. We'll start out with running back, though. Quinshon Judkins is their starter. He's 22, coming off of a very fun rookie season. While the efficiency numbers won't wow you, there were a lot of plays last year where kind of just, forget about it carries. There we go. He was really good in week 2 when he actually got some carries. He got suspended week 1 because he was a naughty boy in college. Obviously, he had a really good stretch here from the Packers game all the way to that Dolphins game where he kind of went off. And while, the Dolphins numbers really weren't great, a lot of the carries he had were basically just in garbage time. He scored 3 touchdowns. Steelers game, that offense was doomed in that one. But honestly, guys, after that, it was kind of up and down overall. There were a lot of games, though, where they basically just shut up the middle because he is a between the tackles runner at the end of the day. I don't really like him as, again, this true kind of outside gap challenging the edge, because that's just not a big part of his game. He's a guy that's going to be a downhill power runner who is going to gain yardage, and he does have that explosive ability. But we all know at the end of the day, Quinshon Judkins is a power runner, so they got to keep him between the tackles as much as they can without, again, compromising the offense. As a receiving guy, he's not awful. He's actually not a bad blocker. It's just the fact that you're not really going to get any sort of like actual routes out of him. So yeah, Quinshon Judkins is a starting caliber running back in my opinion. I just don't think there's definitely a ceiling to his game. Again, that hasn't been even close to hit yet, but there's definitely a ceiling. Dylan Sampson's their backup. He was just low-key ass last year. I don't even know how to put it. As a receiver, he is much more savvy. I think that's the best adjective I could use there for him. But you look at Dylan Sampson, like even like in college, he put up 1,400 yards in that last season. Like there's just, again, he's not a very like bright runner. I think that's the best way to put it. There's not much instinctiveness with him, and there's a lot of plays where he's just running into blocks. It's like, what are we doing? There's got to be a better aim for him in terms of the running ball, which I think is going to be happening. I'm definitely looking forward in the few snaps we'll get this preseason. Then you also have Raheem Sanders here, who I guess is just getting on the field. He's not a bad player. He's just not a guy that I really think is that explosive really at all. He doesn't really break tackles at even a respectable rate. And also, again, you're not going to get the greatest run blocking, at least from what we saw last year. Amani Marshall's here as well out of App State. He's slow. That's really all the only observation I can make on him. I haven't really seen enough of his tape to really get more than that, but I just remember watching him. There were certain plays where he couldn't really get out of the backfield because he didn't have that burst. Running back for me, I'm going to give them a C+. I really like Quinshon Judkins a lot. I just don't think he had an up and down rookie season in a lot of ways. There's a lot of good, but at the same time, there was definitely some concerns. Like, there's a reason he averaged 3.6 yards per carry. Was it completely his fault? I think it was more or less not his fault. Still, though, there's definitely some blame to show his way. So I have to keep that in mind. And then after that, it's kind of like I don't really trust what's going on outside of, again, at least some capabilities with Dylan Sampson as a receiving back. Now we move to receiver. This is a very, very fun group. You have some explosive, just absolute dynamos here, but there's really no one who's proven in this offense outside of Jerry Jeudy, and that's not really in a good way. Jerry Jeudy was absolutely awful last year. His route his route running overall took definitely a big step back. It was because his separation rate also took a step back. Against zone, he really wasn't finding those holes as often, which again was a huge reason of success in 2024. And for a guy who wins on the boundary so consistently, it wasn't really happening last year. And he also dropped, again, as you probably saw, a lot of passes, which again has plagued him throughout his career. I think it's a little bit more blown up than I think it should be, especially the past few years, because he actually hasn't dropped many passes. But it was an issue. He wasn't really that reliable over the middle. For a guy that is this team's number one receiver, while he is still that X guy, he's not winning, again, with enough separation in this offense. And I really think him and Deshaun Watson need to get on the same page here, because, again, they have not played really at all together so far. Again, you look at Jerry Jeudy early in 2024, he honestly was absolutely trash. Again, look at these numbers. Until he got after the injury, like what are we doing for Deshaun Watson? Ballooned 79 yards. Look at that stretch. 230-5 versus the Broncos. Again, every single week outside of that Bengals game where they got absolutely waxed with DTR. Again, when they had Jameis out there, anyone respectable other than Deshaun Watson, it was he played way better in 2024. So it is a little bit of a concern for me because of how they just didn't have a connection early in that season. Then again, they played some pretty good defenses in that stretch, or really just secondary. So I need to see Jerry Jeudy take a step up. Is he a number one receiver? I really don't think so. He's still not a guy that's very reliable at all, but there's definitely a level of talent there that has been there his entire career that, again, there's a reason you get on the ball so consistently. I just really hope that him and Deshaun can really develop a good connection. They're still a little bit spotty, though, in terms of what we're going to see there. Casey Concepcion, without a doubt, will be their slot receiver. He's going to be a guy that you need to kind of put in motion a lot because he is not going to really win with a lot of dominant releases. He has a decent speed release, but it's not really developed enough where I'm really confident in it. And on tape, I think, again, especially last year, there were times where he got kind of limited by that. And he really has no secondary release either. Other than, obviously, I don't know, just getting off the line and, doing your thing. But he's going to be a guy that's going to find a lot of holes in zone. He'll be a huge yak guy for them. Expect a lot of gadget plays with him, too. He's going to be an electric part of this offense. But in terms of being a defined route runner, it's going to be kind of hard to see him really consistently be able to run, again, on certain designs, just because of the fact that he is not a guy that's going to be able to win off the line really the way you were able to see last year. Again, he's also just not a deep threat. Good thing they have Denzel Boston, who I think is honestly, in my opinion, the best receiver, at least for the future in this offense. He was an absolute dog last year at Washington. I mean, there's no other way around it. Him and Devon Williams were cooking it up last year. He is a legit deep threat down the field. While he doesn't really create the amount of separation you really desire for a guy of his kind of play style, he's still a really big time 50-50 guy. He is very, very good against zone, especially down the boundary. I still think, though, if he can really be able to beat guys at the top of his route in terms of in man coverage, especially these physical routes where he does do well on, it'll go a long way to really propel him into a spot where he could could get a big target share in this offense. Then you have Cedric Tillman, who honestly, in my opinion, has been respectable in this offense. The biggest issue with him is that he cannot threaten you down the field. It has been a consistent issue really the past couple of years. He's a guy that I still think is able to track the ball well enough to, be a good back shoulder guy, but he's not going to stack on a cornerback and really make it hard for them to kind of anticipate what he's going to do. He's just limited in that facet, and also the fact that I don't think laterally he has been as efficient on it in terms of change direction on some of these in-breakers is also something that has limited his ability to create separation. Still, though, Cedric Tillman I think is a solid part of this offense. It will be interesting to see how they target his usage this year. Then you have Isaiah Bond. This is a guy that really hasn't gotten I think the right design yet. He without a doubt is the most explosive player in this offense. I don't really think it's even that close. Isaiah Bond, he has elite speed. Is it JMO speed? Maybe not that type, but he is still right up there. Obviously, very, very weird end to his career in college, but last year in a very short and limited role, he did a very good job at making those big plays. I need to see him be a little bit more than just running again straight streaks down the field. Again, you could definitely see a little bit more fly routes off of motion. I think it could definitely put a little bit of variation there, maybe a double move here and there, but he has to be a guy that can at least be somewhat productive underneath and also show some consistency in terms of these timing routes and kind of being able to create his own space. Because if that can happen, he'll be a guy that's very, very hard to cover. Talon Wallace is a returner. Maybe you'll see him run around here and there. And then Malcolm Corley, absolute bust by the Jets. That was a bad pick. It just did not work out there. Jamari Thrash, again, he was like their second receiver back in, 2024? Yeah, that was or even last year, I guess. But still, I like the receiver core a lot. There's a lot of talent. Like, and you look at these top 5 guys. The oldest guy is Jerry Jeudy at 27. There's just not a lot of provenness here. I think there's a lot of potential, which is why I like it a lot. I'm gonna give it a C. That might be a little bit generous, but I honestly think there's again, between Bond, Concepcion, and Boston, I mean, there's just a lot to like there. And Jerry Judy's been a good player, at least to some capacity in the past. And Tillman, again, he's very reliable in a lot of ways, too. So I'm going to give it a C. And that's just, again, there's way too much talent for it to be lower than that. Again, it's just not, again, a group that has proven really much at all. A guy that has proven a lot is Harold Fannin, because the rookie, he put up 730 yards. He got force-fed last year. Let's not get this confused. He was really the only guy in this offense in terms of receiving that you could consistently get the ball to. He was a lead against zone, just absolutely fried certain guys. And over the top, he did a really good job against certain linebackers at kind of, I'm not even say stacking on them, basically just gaining leverage to kind of be able to make certain plays. Still, though, as a blocker, he's completely unusable in line. It's like, what are we doing? But Harold Fannin is a huge weapon there, and it's very, very hard to find guys to match up against him. Joe Roar's been a really solid backup out of Cincinnati. He's very similar in terms of the explosiveness potential there. I think he's definitely a little bit more physical, which is good as well. As a blocker, definitely undisciplined, a horrible technique, honestly, almost as bad as Harold's. But in terms of actual routes, you're going to get maybe a couple decent crossers here and there, definitely a limited route tree, but still you're going to get a high level of explosiveness and physicality out of him, which I think is going to be a good, match to Harold Fannin. Obviously, Jack Stoll's in the end, I feel a good amount just because he's going to be their blocking tight end. Last year, did a decent job with New Orleans. The biggest issue was he wasn't really used, I think, in the greatest way. I think if they can motion him out, kind of put him in sort of a lead blocking role, along with a guy like Spencer Fano, who'll get to in a little bit. It'll definitely put him in a lot better spot. Then you also have Blake Whitehart, who has played in the past too. Then you have Michael Burton at fullback, who'll be a lead blocker as well out of the backfield. For me, this tight end I like a lot. I'm going to give it a B. I want to give Fannin a higher grade, but it's just kind of hard to project that. And then Joe Royer, again, there's a very high chance he has an up and down rookie season. So I'm going to say a B there. I want to give Fannin more because he is one of the better receiving tight ends in football, but it's kind of hard to do after a rookie year also with him kind of having a Kyle Pitts-like treatment as a blocker. But still, I'm going to give it a B. I really like where he's going. If he has another really good season, they're going right into A tier. But that's all I have there. Let's look at this O-line. And for the Browns offensive line, Jesus, this is a group that I like a hell of a lot. It's just a group that you got proven guys all across the field, and even then the backups are also guys that at least have some level of talent. Spencer Fano was their 9th overall pick at tackle. While it was a little bit more of a boring pick and a little bit of risky in terms of what we're going to see in terms of the passing game with this offense, Spencer Fano is going to be an elite, athletically gifted run blocker. He will displace a lot of guys on his own, and when you put him on a double team, there's a very, very good chance Quinshon Judkins could pop a play there. Also, just schematically, you get very, very good predictability in terms of him being able to close off that outside edge. Still, though, I think there's going to be plays where he gets beat on the inside counters because his handwork's a little bit spotty. He doesn't really reset to the greatest of degrees, and I think there are times where his leverage is a little bit off. Still, though, Spencer Fano is just an absolute athletic freak. He is going to be a dog. He's so physical, so aggressive. It's going to be fun to watch this dude cook in this offense. Still, though, I think there's definitely going to be sometimes, at least in terms of pass protection, where you're definitely going to see a little bit of the rookie moments, which, again, isn't really surprising. Then you have DeJuan Jones, who he took his spot from. This guy flat out hasn't been able to stay healthy on this offensive line, and he was absolutely diabolically awful in 2025. Obviously, last year he really wasn't healthy, but he wasn't good when he played either. DeJuan Jones definitely struggled. He's a guy, though, again, looking back into his rookie year, there was a lot of potential for, and you're still wondering like what kind of happened. And really the biggest problem was that fact that he doesn't have the same burst off the line that he used to, which really was able for him to be a stabilizer against power. And he's always has had the length to kind of withstand some of these bendier guys who are trying to beat you with ghost moves. Again, things of that liking. So yeah, DeJuan Jones, I really hope he can become a productive guy as a backup, but there's a reason they brought in Spencer Fano. Zion Johnson, most average guard you've ever seen. He was picked by the Chargers back in 2022. He was a mellow pick. There's a reason they didn't re-sign him. Still, though, he's going to be a solid run blocker for them. He is also a guy that is not really reliable at all in pass blocking overall. He gets beat laterally way too much, I will say, though. The timing to pressure rate isn't really that bad, though, so you're at least going to get a little bit more time than some of these other guys. But so Zion Johnson overall is just kind of an average guard, but he's predictable. Kendrick Green is a very aggressive run blocker. That's really the best way to put it. He's bounced around really a lot. That's the only reason he's kind of in the league is because he's an effective run blocker. That's just what he is at the end of the day. But he's been flawed really his entire career as a pass blocker because of the fact that he doesn't really anticipate any sort of jump he's going to have off the line, and he gets displaced way too often because he doesn't get anchored. But as a run blocker, he's an impactful player. Elgton Jenkins is a center, high-quality player that has really struggled like his entire career. Very versatile, though. There's not really one thing I'd say he is really great at as a pass blocker, at least at guard. But you look at him as a center, he projects really well with that. Again, just positional value. Run blocker hasn't really been as impactful as he has been in the past, but still very consistent at making it hard for those guys to just completely shed off of him. Elgton Jenkins is a very reliable player, but again, the fact that he isn't on the field kind of distinguishes that at least to a certain extent. Parker Brazelfield out of Alabama, he was low-key atrocious in that playoff game versus Indiana last year. That was brutal to watch. This is a dude that does give you solid size at 6'2", 290. Just being a grounded guy. He's a really good lower half. The problem is he's kind of unusable in terms of pass blocking right now, so we'll just kind of see what happens there. That's just really the observation I made in tape. I'd like to go deeper there, but there's really nothing to say. Also, Luke Weipler's fighting for a spot there. He's played in the past. I love that photo. This is a guy that just has struggled to get on the field consistently, just with the crowded offensive line here. Tevin Jenkins, the right to guard. He had a career year with Chicago a couple years ago. Came to the Bears last year and was kind of all over the place. Not the Bears, the Browns last year, and again, kind of all over the place. Really good at moving to the second level as a run blocker. There's times, though, that kind of was an issue, though, because, again, he didn't really progress to the completely, because, again, he kind of just left his block. And as a pass blocker, he's really good at attacking inside, making it hard for these, three techs to kind of beat him to his outside shoulder. But there's also times where he kind of just wipe clean, which is, like, kind of annoying to watch. But still, he's a solid player. Zach Sinter sucks. This is a guy that was a third-round pick out of Michigan, which I liked a lot because he did a really good job at displacement. But he doesn't really penetrate it at all when he's been on the field. And that's just something that needs to change because other than that, he's kind of like a diminishing returns guy in terms of the other parts of his game. Titus Howard, again, versatile sort of dude. He's a vet at 30 years old now. Still a very athletic guy. He's overall kind of an average tackle. There's been times where he sucked. There's been times when he's been good. There's definitely an up and down part of his game there. Austin Barber. I was kind of shocked he was taken at 86th overall by the Browns. He has some athletic merit to his game. I'll tell you that for sure. There's definitely a lot of aggression as well with him, but there's just a lot of technique things that need to be cleaned up, specifically with his second punch. When you look again, kind of going out like this, like bam, and then he's there. That second punch is either hitching it or it's not really landing the right way, and that makes it very, very hard for him to reset if the offense, the edge rusher wins initially. So that needs to change for sure. But still, you look at this offensive line, there's a lot of good things going on. I'm going to give it a B-. I like this offensive line a lot. Again, really look at it. Spencer Fano projects really well. Elgton Jenkins is a high-quality center despite the injury concerns. The depth is very talented. Titus Howard's average overall. Same thing with Zion Johnson. I think Tevin Jenkins does deserve a little bit more of a boost there, but not too much. Again, I think this is definitely a group going in the right direction, though. So that's going to be 14 points. If we added all that up, that's going to be 15 plus 30 plus another 15 plus 16 and plus 14. That's going to give them 90 points in this offense, which, again, doesn't really look too awesome, but I think it's still something that, again, it's not a bad offense. I think that really needs to be said. There's a lot of talent here. It's just the fact that it isn't proven, and until a guy like Deshaun Watson go out there and really run this group, again, it's kind of hard to see this group being really productive at all. Now moving to the defensive side of the ball for these Brownies. Again, we have a really fun front seven to talk about. We do have a 4-3, which absolutely sucks ass, but we're going to get through it. We'll start with these linebackers, which is a very young group. And again, a very different D-line than what we're used to seeing. First off, these linebackers, Winston Reed is not a guy that I really like, honestly, whatsoever. He has awful, and I mean awful, eye discipline. There are several times where I see him getting just absolutely moved off the frame by the quarterback. It's bad. He has awful eye discipline. And then look at the running game again. When they kind of like show like the momentum's going right, and then there's a huge cutback, and he's not there. It's hard for me to watch. Again, I get pissed off when I see plays like that, and that was very evident on his tape. Still, though, he didn't really get a complete run last season. He is capable in coverage, which is a good thing. It's not like he's really instinctive. He kind of just sits back in his zone and gets very, very comfortable and makes really good reads in the football, which is huge. So there's at least some things that are good there. But again, you look at him when he kind of has to kind of read the quarterback completely and he's not in a comfortable spot, he gets moved so consistently. And in man coverage, he's a little bit undisciplined. Still, again, while he's a little handsy, he's still a guy that can run with guys, which is huge. Winston Reed is not a bad player. I got to put that out there, but there's just some things, at least in terms of his eye discipline, that need to get better. And if it doesn't, it's like you can't play him. He's just, again, he's going to get beat, and it's going to be bad for your group. I can't pronounce this guy's name. I'm going to say EMA. He didn't play last year. I don't even know what to tell you guys. Like, he got what? 50 snaps? He's a special teamer. Don't get me wrong, but for a guy, again, I've watched some of his tape at USC, but it's not really enough to make any sort of like actual conclusions on his game. Like, again, I remember him in Oregon State. He was definitely an impact player. But like I haven't seen enough of him recently to really know what's up with here. So I'm gonna watch more of his tape. Again, from what I can remember. But this is definitely a guy that is unproven, and we'll see what happens. Because again, you don't really know what's going on. Also, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, what the hell is happening with him? Is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. Anyway, JOK was like the Browns' best linebacker in a really long time. He was one of the best linebackers in football in 2023, if not the best. He was just absolutely balling out. Then he like died in 2024 and he hasn't come back. So prayers to him in terms of him getting back into like good health, but it's looking doubtful. However, well, I don't even know what's going on with him. Carson Schwarzenegger, Defensive Rookie of the Year, well earned. He was a very dynamic blitzer. He was a huge part of the run defense, even though they really didn't grade out too well. In coverage, while he wasn't perfect, he made a lot of good adjustments throughout the season, especially in zone. You didn't really see a ton of him in man, especially against kind of slot receivers, but when he was against tight ends, he did do a fairly good job. Overall, Carson Schwarzenegger had a phenomenal rookie season for a linebacker, and he is one of the brighter spots in this entire team. Don't really need to say much there. It's kind of self-explanatory. Nathaniel Watson's his backup. This is a guy that has gotten run in the past. What is called with the Browns. I don't even know. I don't even know what happened with him last year. He was honestly pretty good in 2024. Really did a good job at getting downhill and making it hard for these running backs to cut back. But at the same time, he's still a guy that you haven't really seen enough of to really get a full conclusion on. In coverage, he's a valuable piece as well. Quincy Williams. This is a guy, again, like I said, for the Jets, at times in the past couple of years has been elite. Really looking at 2023 season, he was an absolute balling out. 2024, he was absolutely terrible. He missed a lot of tackles to start out with. Again, a lot of plays and tapes. He was way too hesitant and got beat over the top. And just in man coverage, he got absolutely cooked. That's just the best way to put it. Against the run last year, he was much more reliable, which was good to see. Still, though, in coverage, there wasn't a huge jump in terms of the statistical difference from 2024. But definitely, I think overall, he's a lot more confident and more astute than he was in 2024. So that's good for Quincy. But still, he's not a guy that I completely embodied on him being back. But again, he has been an elite player in the past. So give him credit. He's one of the best sub linebackers in football when he's at his best. Then you have Justin Jefferson here out of Alabama. Watch out for him. He's a guy that could definitely be an impact blitzer for this team. Very, very good at staying grounded and making it hard for big gaps to open up. He's very, very good in terms of gap control. Same time, though, he doesn't take on blocks to a really good level. There's definitely times where he kind of gets overwhelmed. I think that, again, if his shed rate can definitely go up this year, that'll help a lot in terms of his development. For me, though, this linebacker core has a lot of potential. There's a lot of good pieces here. Winston Reed's still a guy that I haven't really got a full conclusion on. The fact that, again, if JOK was here, look out. But on the fact that he's not going to probably play is a little of an issue. I'm still going to give this group a B, though. Really pushing towards a B+, because, again, if Quincy Williams could play even, like, somewhat of that 2023 level, like, look out. But I'm going to stick it at a B because you get a young Carson Schwarzenegger, who, again, is a really good player. And then you get a bunch of, like, eesh. And again, I'm not trying to, like, again, Carson Schwarzenegger was awesome last year. But, again, it wasn't like it was the most, again, phenomenal rookie year in terms of, again, his group wasn't as, phenomenal in terms of other defenses. Still, though, again, he's obviously awesome. All right, D-line. Again, address the elephant in the room. Myles Garrett's gone. You lost one of the best defenders we've ever, edge rushers we've ever seen. Just start out with that. That is going to impact this grade. Still, though, you brought in Jared Verse and got 2 first-round picks out of that, which is a huge win. You got an absolute haul for him, which you should. But Jared Verse is one of the more productive edge rushers in the entire NFL. He has an absolutely elite bull rush, and while he doesn't really have much off of it, other than, I guess, a decent speed rip, he's going to get pressure so consistently. Well, again, he's only had, what? like 10 sacks to his name so far in his career through 2 years. He is, I think, 5th or 6th in the league in pressures since coming to the league. Again, for a guy first 2 years who gets consistently double teamed, it is very hard to find a better guy there, and he's also one of the more consistent run defenders in football. So Jared Verse in a vacuum is a elite number 1 edge rusher, and he will be a huge part of this defense. But he's not Myles Garrett. Keep that in mind. Hopefully, Alex Wright. He was really big step up last year. He hasn't really been a consistent guy for them in the past. Rookie season 2022, he legitimately, I think, had 8 pressures. Ridiculous, but he had 8 pressures. On tape, you can see why. A lot of his rushes got stalled out because he had no counter move. 2024, 3 really good counter move. Still, the pressure rate was unsustainable at times, and I think the sack number was really high. He was good when he played in 2024, but again, he had the injury. Last year, much, much better. Against the run, he was very, very good at not getting displaced. He isn't ever really going to be much of a productive run defender, let me tell you that, but he wasn't a detriment to their defense. As a pass rusher, so much better. He actually went off the line. He is he's always had a good first step, but it's not really been an advantage for him. He's utilized that so much better. And he has a really good inside counter off of that bull rush, and also he's a very, very good twitch move. It's not really a ghost move per se. It's kind of a twitch hesitancy thing, and it works so well because it's very, very hard to time his rush. So good for Alex Wright. He's really turned into a solid player, but he's definitely a number 2. Isaiah McGuire's here as well. This is a guy that kind of really tried to push in the past because he is an athletic player. The problem is he's way too stiff when turning around the corner, and also there's really nothing here in terms of him actually having any sort of violent hands or really any sort of counter moves in his game. I'm not going to say he stalls his rushes too much, but there's definitely times where he kind of just gets caught up, and it's very, very hard for him to recover in the play. And those are just things that I don't really think are really going to change in his game. So it's like, how much can we really get out of here outside of him being at least somewhat disruptive as a run defender? Also, Julian Okwara, shout out to his brother who's no longer in the league. He's a very explosive guy at the edge, but he really hasn't been even respectable for a while now. I will say, though, he's dominated in camp so far this year because he is a very athletic player. It'll just be interesting to see if he can develop anything off of that scissor move, which has been his go-to for a while now. Then also you have Spencer's brother, Logan Fanow. He'll definitely be a guy to watch here. He'll definitely make the roster. It's just a question of if he'll actually get like consistent playing time, which I don't think will happen. He still has a lot of work to do in terms of being a respectable run defender. You get a solid toolbox from him, though, which is kind of rare for a guy that isn't really that athletic. He has a very, very solid base in terms of his speed to power, which is really good to see. But in terms of him winning more laterally and kind of adjusting certain routes when he's going inside, it's definitely an interesting dynamic for him. But yeah, he's really fun to watch. Also, you have obviously Mason Graham here. He had a very fun rookie season. He has only half a sack, but they were definitely an upstart in terms of the pressures towards the end of the season. Still, though, they're definitely an up and down overall. He was very disruptive against the run, though, which is probably the biggest takeaway from him last year. He got double teamed at a crazy high rate despite Myles Garrett being out there, at least for him being a defensive tackle here, rookie. I would like to see him be a little bit more impactful with his bull rush, though. Despite him being more of a finesse guy at times, he needs that bull rush to be hitting on all cylinders to be able to be a dominant interior presence. But Mason Graham had a really fun rookie season. It'll be interesting to see how he again takes it to that next level this year. And then Mike Collins next to him is obviously literally just a pass rusher. There's really nothing else to say here. He is a scissor move. What is it called? Cross chop merchant. He has never really been even like okay against the run. He has decent leverage. He never makes plays against the run. He is in there to wreak havoc as a pass rusher, and there's really nothing else to say here. And also, he's never really been a guy that's had really even a respectable bull rush. So we know his game, but again, it's effective. His pressure rate is near the top of the league pretty consistently for a defensive tackle. Khalil Davis. This guy sucks. I'm not gonna lie. That's my initial reaction to his game. Last year, no pressure, just like literally wasn't even in the pocket really at all. Well, against the run, he did do a decent job at kind of winning up the field. There really wasn't a consistent level of actual playmaking from him. Khalil Davis is just kind of a chud. Mike Hall is here as well. He was a high enough pick from them a couple years ago. He didn't really play a lot last year. For a couple of reasons. Still, though, really the biggest problem is he can't win with his leverage is awful, and it's just part of the reason he just doesn't win off the line really consistently enough. I hope Mike Hall can get better, but it's been kind of a tough go for him so far. Sam Kamara, Aiden Huntington will be battling off for roster spots. And I'd be shocked if Elijah Chapman makes the roster, but he has been better in the past. Overall, for me, this D line, I'm going to give a B minus. I think that we'll say I think a B minus. Truly against the run, Alex Wright's not a guy that's going to be very good. Malik Collins is a detriment as a run defender. Jared Verse, Mason Graham are going to be really good, but again, like they can only do so much. I'm going to say a B minus for their D line. I think that may be a little bit of a snub, I guess, in some ways. The pass rush, though, I'm going to give a B plus. For a lot of people, that might be a little bit optimistic, but like truly, guys, there's some talent here. We all know Malik Collins is one of the more consistent interior pass rushers in football. Isaiah McGuire and Julian Okwara, are they good depth? Not really, but I honestly don't care. Jared Verse is an elite edge rusher. Mason Graham, while he wasn't a high-end production guy as a pass rusher last year, he has that potential. And then also Alex Wright, guys. Alex Wright had a really good season last year. I like what's going on here. Obviously, is it very bullish for me to say that because the depth is just not there? Sure. But I really like the top end of this team's pass rush. I'm really pushing for them there. Again, when you have a guy like Mason Graham and Jared Verse, they deserve that ranking. Obviously, they'd be so we'll give it a B. I'll take a little bit off because, again, they don't have Myles Garrett. I got to keep that in mind. If they had Myles Garrett, it'd be like in the A tier. Just keep that in mind. All right, moving to this Browns secondary. It's a group that has an absolute, obscene amount of talent and just overall continuity. There isn't, other than Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who will be starting at some point this season, there's not one guy that didn't at least get excited playing time in this defense last year. Start out, this is the cornerbacks and up top with Denzel Ward. He is their true boundary number one corner. He's been that for a long time. He's a little bit underrated at this point because this team sucked for so long, but I would argue the past years have been his best years of his career since that 2019 season where he was, or not 2019, he was good in 2019, but honestly more 2020, where he was one of the best cornerbacks in football. Biggest thing with him is he just doesn't, you can't beat him over the top. He's one of the fastest cornerbacks in football. It's very, very hard to win like that. Well, he might not be overly physical all the time. He's still a guy that is very, very hard to beat, really get going against as well. He's just, he has great length too. Denzel Ward's a very, very hard guy to play against. Nate Evans, I guess, is his backup. Not really. He's UDF out of Delaware. I watched him versus UConn. He was an absolute playmaker, absolute dog. Problem with him is, though, he doesn't really have the greatest size for the position on the boundary and also doesn't have the greatest length. Still, though, absolute dog. Watch out for him. He'll definitely be playing a lot in preseason. I'll tell you that, too. Other side is Tyson Campbell. He's an absolute giant, 6'1", 195. He might look that insane length. He, at times, has been an elite cornerback in football. Really back in that 2022 season where he completely took over games for the Jags. He was awful in 2023. Not a ton better in 2024. He was really going to start the year with the Jags, though. And overall, last year had a really good season. Obviously, he gets targeted a lot because he does get beat underneath pretty consistently, which I'm pretty okay with. Because, again, you talk about against these number one receivers, it's very, very hard for those dudes to play against him. Tyson Campbell had a really nice season, though, proving that he can, be that consistent guy on the boundary, because for a guy with his size and his just overall speed and change of direction and hip fluidity, it's very, very hard finding like that. And the fact that he got back to that consistent level where he wasn't hesitating and getting beat over the top, it was a huge step up there. I'm really happy that Tyson Campbell had a solid season. Then D'Angelo Ross here as well. This guy's low-key a Joe Schmo, I'm not going to lie, guys. He hasn't really wowed me on tape really at all. The only thing I'll say about him is he is an effective slot guy because he does read the field pretty well. But on the boundary, he kind of just is going to get beat. Like, it's going to happen. You also have Trey Avery, who is an absolute mess, but at times, again, especially in zone, he can't anticipate well. Myles Harden's their nickel back here. There's not really much to say here. He's a really solid player. He's more of a cover guy. He does do a decent job of kind of blocking off some of those edge lanes, but for him, the biggest thing you want have him do is work against those slots. He does a very good job of sticking to them, and making it very, very hard for them to win off of that first cut, which I think is a huge distinction for some of these other slots. Well, some slots, make him a little bit of leeway. Myles Harden always jumps on the ball there, and it's a very, very effective technique for him. Miles Bryant, he's behind here. He was a really good player of the Patriots for a couple of years. They kind of faded with the Texans the last 2 years. He was like low-key their only bad guy in the secondary at times. For me, he gets beat. He's not good on the boundary, but again, similarly, he does do a good job at carrying certain routes, and against slots, he does a very, very good job at anticipating when they're going to make moves. Is it as prevalent as Myles Harden? Definitely not, but it's still, again, a noticeable improvement in his game. For me, this quarterback room is going to get an A-. I really like what's going on here. I think that, truly think Tyson Campbell's very underrated. Again, he's going to get targeted a lot because, again, underneath, he's just going to give up yards, but I really like what's going on here. There's a really good two guys in the boundary, and obviously Myles Harden's a really solid guy at nickelback. But again, obviously, we'll give it a B+. I'm gonna be a little bit more realistic because there's actually no depth, but screw A-. That's what I'm saying. So with that, 6, 12, 18, 20 points at corner. Now we move to safety. This is obviously a very, very high-level playmaking group. Grant Delp has been making plays his entire career. That's, again, really the hallmark of him. He's never really been amazing in coverage. Biggest thing with him is, though, he just attacks downhill so well. And he has rare range for the position as well at strong safety, so just give him props for there. And again, he's a very good athletic talent there. So Grant Delp, absolute dog there. Behind him, you do have Christopher Edmonds. I don't really think this guy's good at all, but he's a decent special teamer, so at least you get that. But don't really expect him to play much this year, to be honest, as long as Grant Delp doesn't get injured. Ronnie Hickman's here as well. He's really good as a center fielder, reads the field really well. The problem is he is not a guy that can really consistently play in man. He's not overly physical, and while against the run, especially in the open field, he's a very consistent player. Once you get in the box, it's kind of a spotty situation. I still think he's a starting caliber player, but there's definitely a limit to what you can do with him, especially attacking downfield. The absolute opposite of that is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who's an absolute, like, just beast. While his combine was one of the worst in this year's draft, he was my number 2 safety, my bad, for a reason. This is a dude that just absolutely attacks so well down here, has elite range in terms of being able to close on the football. Well, in coverage, you're not going to get this, like, true center field ball hawk all the time. There's definitely certain times where he's able to do that, and his anticipation overall instincts are, other than Caleb Downs is just right there. It's really close there. He is that good of a guy coming out here, and it'll be very, very interesting to see how much they use him this year. Because I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is a guy that could be an X factor for this defense, even as a rookie. This quarterback safety room is so good though. At least as of right now, I'm gonna give it a B+. I don't think Delpit is quite that impact of a player just yet, because there are times where he gets beat. Hickman is, again, a limited guy, but he's still very good in his role. And McNeil-Warren, again, sky's the limit for that guy. For that 27 points, though, if we added all these points up, that's 24, 14, 33, 20, and 27. That's going to put this group at 118 points. So a really good score for a defense that in the past with Jim Schwartz has been very good. B-. Obviously, he's gone, though, which is going to impact this identity, which we will get to in a very short moment. And as always, before we get to the overall roster grade, we do look at the special teams unit and some other things. First up, Andre Schmidt. After blowing that field goal last year against the Bengals in Week 1, he had an absolutely amazing season. Really good in a lot of ways. For me, again, he's a really good kicker. Outside of that, though, Corey Borquez has been a punter for a while. Honestly, a little below average. He's got a good leg, but it only lasts him so much. The returners are kind of whatever. Gage Labradine, watch out. This dude is fast, but how much does that really matter? Like, bro, you're not doing a ton. And then you have Rex Sonadera. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. He's not that great from what I've heard as a long snapper. He's 6'6", though, which is pretty cool. This special team for me is kind of a push. I'm going to say a C. There's streaming a lot of average there. Now for the depth of this team. Quarterback depth is probably going to be an A. I mean, you just got a lot of options, let's be honest. Running back depth, I'd probably give a D. It's not my favorite, so far we're probably at, a C+. Receiver depth, I'd probably give a B. I actually like it a lot. That's going to probably put them at a C+. Or maybe a B-. We'll say a B-. Tight end depth, I'd probably give a B. So we're probably still at a B-. The O-line, honestly, we're probably up to a B now. D-line, overall, is kind of an absolute, not very good. So we're probably going to bump it down to a C+. Linebacker depth, I like a lot. I'll probably say we're at a what? I mean, Easton's not awesome, but, we don't really know what's up with him so far. I'll probably say we're up to a B- though. Secondary overall is, there's a lot of depth to a certain extent. So we'll probably say overall at a B-, and that's probably where we're going to end there. So I'm going to say a B- for the depth of this team. Again, there's some positions that are definitely less deep than others, but I think overall you do have answers if certain dudes get injured. But yeah, 28 points there. And now for the identity of this football team. Todd Monken coming in is definitely an interesting move for them. I think for this offense, it's going to be hard for them to be productive unless a guy like Jerry Jeudy steps up and proves to be the number one guy in the system, and that is entirely reliant on Deshaun Watson running this offense. It's a big ask. It is a risky ask in the final year of his massive contract, but who do they have to lose? If he plays bad, cool. Again, you can kind of play with that mindset, guys, but again, this team's trying to be competitive. I don't really think that's a great way to go, and I honestly don't think Tom Monken's going to really be a guy to lead this team the way I think they need to, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Defensively, this is a very crazy group. There's going to be a lot of big plays made by this group. I'll tell you that right now. Jim Schwartz leaving is a huge loss. You guys don't understand. He was the lifeblood of this defense. The fact that he's gone as their DC is going to be a little bit of an issue. And just that uncertainty I don't love a lot. Still, though, I'm going to give this identity a C. I think the fact that, again, they lost some certain dudes, and it's not really a great situation is kind of a weird thing for me. But like I said, if they play with the right mindset, that being that, again, there's only so bad they can do, I think that'll definitely put them in a better spot than again, where they were starting last season. So if we did that, that's going to be 118 plus, 90 for the offense. That's going to give them 266 points for this roster, which honestly, for where they're at, isn't really that bad at all. That's going to put them in the B- tier, which I'm honestly give them a C+. I don't think a B- warranted there, but still. For me, this is a really, honestly, solid roster in a lot of ways in terms of, what we expect here. It just really comes down to, can Deshaun Watson be that guy, and can Todd Monken adjust into more of a authoritative role than what he's seen in the past. That's all I have here for the Browns. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Browns, hopefully I didn't dog on y'all too hard. I think, again, this is a talented roster in a lot of ways, so you got to keep that in mind. But hopefully they're somewhat competitive this year. That's all I have here. And here's a hint at the next team. And I'm telling y'all, get ready.
Stafford, play fake, looking, launching. It is a goal. Did he stay in? Oh, he did! How on earth did he catch that and stay in bounds?
There is no place for Stafford to throw that ball, but he gives Puka Nacua a chance, And the control with the body to make the catch, literally, his hands are behind his head. The ball goes past his vision, and he catches it. And then his feet